Hi all, I am Gaurav. Welcome to Introduction to Scala. I'm starting this series with an intent of sharing my Scala knowledge.
Hi all and welcome. I hope you are enjoying and practicing Scala by following some of my previous videos. Today we are going to discuss about classes in Scala. Classes are the basic building blocks in any programming language, and Scala is no different. Classes are the blueprint of the object you want to define. It gives you the ability to define your own object. Classes are not concrete. You have to define an instance of your class that will hold the state. For example, think of an employee inside your system. You might have a state such as their name and their address and their phone numbers. You can have many instances of the class, for example, employee 1, employee 2, etc. Every class has a behavior associated to it. You may want to change the state using these behaviors, such as you can change the address of an employee. Some of the well-known classes that we have already seen are int, list, string, map, etc. All these are type of classes. If the introduction seems too much to you, don't worry. Scala classes are really simple and easy to play around with. Let us see classes in action. We'll start with the greeting class. You can define your class with the keyword class. Nothing surprising there. You can instantiate the class by using keyword new. Let us try to convert this greeting to string by using toString method, and it gives us a garbage. Well, this is not exactly garbage. This is location of class in Java heap in JVM. This greeting class doesn't seem very useful. Let us talk about primary constructor and class parameter to make our class a little bit more exciting. By default, every class in Scala has a primary constructor. Primary constructor defines how we instantiate a class. The constructor tells us about the parameters that are required to create the class. For example, in our greeting class, constructor can enforce us to pass the name of the person to be greeted. The body of the class is the implementation of the constructor that we'll see in examples. Next is class parameters. Let us talk a bit about class parameter. You can pass various parameters to your class instance by using constructor. For example, you can pass the name of person to be greeted in greeting class. You must specify the type of parameters. By default, class parameters are immutable and private. That means these parameters are accessible only within the class. You will get an error if you try to access these parameters in outside world. Let us examine primary constructor and class parameter with an example. Having the knowledge of class parameter and primary constructor, let us modify our greeting class to accept greet word and name of the user. We'll declare primary constructor in Scala along with the class definition. Notice that we need to provide the parameter type as string. We'll print the greeting for the person on the screen by using println statement. This println statement lies in the body of the constructor and will be executed whenever the class is instantiated, and that completes our class. Let us again instantiate our class with greet as hi and name as Gaurav, and observe how Scala has printed the code in its primary constructor. Now, if I try to access the value of name outside the class, I will get an error. As you can observe from the above code, these parameters define the state of the class. If you want these parameters to be publicly visible outside the class, you can add val keyword in front of it, but you cannot still modify these fields.
For some reason, if you want your fields to be publicly visible and modifiable outside the class, then you can add var keyword in front of it. Let us try it out. I will declare the greeting class once again with greet as well. Let us pass the parameter value as hello world. And now we'll try to print it out if and it is successful. If we try to modify the greeting, we'll get an error. Let us follow the same steps once again, but with class parameter this time as var. We will instantiate greeting again with hello world. But I have already done that. So this time instead of saying hello world, I want to say hello internet. You can observe that the reassignment was successful this time and we can print hello internet. All this is good, but what if I only want to provide the name of person to be greeted and I want Scala to greet the person, or if I want Scala to greet someone even without knowing his or her name. To achieve this, we can use auxiliary constructor. Auxiliary constructor are other extra constructors that can help you to define some default values. These constructors are defined using this keyword. As a thumb rule of Scala, auxiliary constructor must call primary constructor. Let us see and demo it. I will redefine the Scala class to add two auxiliary constructor. The primary constructor still accepts the name and greet. The first auxiliary constructor accepts the name of the person to be greeted. This constructor then provide hi as default value of greetings and will call the primary constructor. And the last constructor that does not accept anything and will default the value of name as there. The last constructor will call other two constructor to print the greetings as hi there. We now try to instantiate the greetings using all three constructor. Notice how each constructor is printing out their own respective greetings. As I said earlier, Scala classes gives you much more flexibility to play around in Scala. We'll continue this discussion on Scala classes in next video. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Please post your comments and suggestions.